everybody, and welcome back to the Adapted Life podcast with me, Julie Hasselberger. Hi, everybody. How's everybody? Today is Friday, October 28th, and I'm coming to you from a very chilly Connecticut where most of the leaves are now on the lawn. And I just wanted to kind of do an episode today a little bit about home care, nursing care for my son, Daniel. I know that I've touched on this a little bit over the several episodes that I've produced so far, but in specifics, I'm going to kind of go through just a scenario that I've been struggling with and where I'm at today and kind of why I'm there. And now I first want to say I am not an expert in all programs throughout the state and all the different aspects of things, because truly there's not a lot of time for me to really dig in and research every single specific thing. And what happens is you get so wrapped up in actual caregiving and life that if you don't know things, you just don't know things. People don't come to you and say, hey, did you know about this program and this? And if you do this, then you'll be able to get this, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? I keep saying that. And if you don't know when you should be squeaky, you might not know. That's what I'm saying. I am not an expert. So if something sounds wrong, if you work in the state of Connecticut Department of this and such, and you think I'm, not right, that's okay, because I'm probably not. But I'm giving you my experience. So it might sound like a complaining, and I don't mean to do that, but it's like a natural thing that happens to a lot of us special needs parents, because it's almost like they turn you into, being that bulldog, right? You just can't help it because you got to fight for everything that you want and that you need for your child. So, let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm having a day. I was just waiting for the sound of my son's lift. But beneath me, he has a ceiling track lift that goes across his room, takes him from his wheelchair to his bed, and it was just humming, and that's fine. It's just that I want to wait because it made my whole desk rattle. Anyway, I like that. That adds sort of an interesting element to my wonderful space here that I have created. So, all right. So for my son, I do feel like adequate home care is a pipe dream at this point. I feel like I've hit a wall. And, the biggest issues that I faced in trying to navigate my son's care, but also to hang on to my own sanity and ability to do more vocational things for myself, is this issue of nursing care. My son is very medically fragile, and we care for him at home, so I need help. So Daniel has what they call Medicaid insurance through the state of Connecticut. It's called Husky C, and it's a pretty good program. It covers a lot of his benefits and equipment and things, and his prescriptions. But we also have secondary insurance through my husband. So while that doesn't cover the home care nursing, it does help with other things. So we have pretty decent insurance coverage for him. And, it should be, pretty decent. When we first got onto Title 19, which was, a long time ago, when he became eligible, after we waited, it was almost like a 7-year waiting period. He was 10 years old when he finally got onto the Medicaid waiver. And that was back in 2009, 8, 9, something like that. But back then, we were not told that he qualified for nursing care. I didn't know that nursing was an option at the time. I was still just doing everything, and it was a friend at a support group that said, why aren't you getting nursing care yet if you're on Medicaid? So then I found out about it, and then I inquired about it, and I said, okay. So I called, and I'm like, great, this is great. I'm going to get some help. I'll be able to go to work. This is great. I can finally go back to maybe resuming a little bit of a career that I had to let go of, and at least be more attentive to the other members of my family. I had 2 other children, a spouse, a house, all that, So I thought, great, I finally got help. I contacted the Department of social services who run and manage this particular Medicaid program called Husky C. They told me, "Oh, sure, you can do that," and they sent me a list of participating agencies. Uh, so the agencies have to manage the nursing care. So it's like this list of, regular nursing care agencies in the area that are approved through the state to do this. So I got the packet of information. I called and I called. I called all of the agencies that service the areas that we service the area that we live in here, but they all started telling me the same thing. Oh, we're not accepting new patients. I'm sorry, we're not accepting new patients. I'm sorry, we're not accepting new patients. And I got to the end of the list and I was deflated. I was like, now what? Now what? Everybody doesn't take new patients. Nobody can give nursing care. But you just told me that he can get nursing care. Here it is in your booklet. In the little print. Um, so the state approved him for nursing and therapy services, but there were no providers. So I was really frustrated, and I felt like it was a game, right? Why are you sending me this list? And then nobody would take his case, right? So I contacted a friend of mine. We love to have friends and different jobs, right? She was an attorney who worked at the district attorney's office in Hartford at that time anyway. She had a lot of contacts at the state level, and so she's like, let me help you out a little bit. And she inquired for me, and I inquired for me, and we were trying to figure it out, right? So if none of the agencies could accept new patients, what does this mean? So how does he then get care? Because he needs to get care, right? You say that he can have care. It's in his benefit package. It doesn't say he can have care unless there's no, you know what I'm saying? Like it's part of the package. So I think I finally published an editorial of frustration in our local paper, and then I kept calling the state, kept wanting information. Why? Can I hire my own person? Is there another way to do this? Why do I have to use only these agencies? I even tried calling the governor's office. I don't remember who was governor even at the time, but one of the agencies ultimately who had said no to me after I was making myself very visually known. Suddenly I got this phone call and they were like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I think we can accept his case. And, we're going to come over and do intake, yada, yada, yada." So, right, squeaky wheel gets the grease. I don't think that call would have happened if I hadn't have, complained. Do you? I don't think so. Anyhow, let's fast forward to today. It's October 13th, and it's not October 13th. I'm sorry. I wrote this on October 13th. It's October 28th by the time I'm recording. So Daniel has had nursing and therapy services for 15 years through probably with 3 or 4 different agencies that have been changed or bought out. I never changed my agency. They changed me, like one stopped doing home care, one got merged with another one, and then that kind of thing happened a lot. So not once, even with these few agencies, not once in 15 years ish, not once have they been able to fill the 100 hours per week that Daniel's supposed to get in terms of his level of need. So ultimately, he should have like 12 to 14 hours covered of nursing care. That's what he's approved for. All of his care through his insurance company and his physicians. His speech therapy, OT, PT, forget it. I can't tell you how hard it is to get anybody to be able to find therapy. Once in a blue moon, if I need therapists now for like a wheelchair evaluation, I'll have to wait a few weeks for someone to finally approve like a 1-hour visit. It's really difficult. So here's the thing. So if he's approved for needs about 100 hours a week, right? So that's like approximately somewhere in the 12 to 14 hours a day range, right? Right now, he's getting 42 hours during the week out of that 100. And he has care on the weekends. Sometimes it's like every other weekend, he gets 14 hours of coverage in 2 days. And a lot of times that doesn't happen because there's a lot of calling out sick and not showing up and that kind of thing. So I am constantly calling the agency saying, so are you working on all the open hours that we have still unstaffed? And I get this myriad of things like, there's a nursing shortage. We can't find people. The state doesn't reimburse us enough for home care, so nurses are taking other jobs. Um, there's no nurses in your service area. We're working on it. We're recruiting. We're working on it, but there's a shortage, Mrs. Hasselberger. And then I just sit here over and over and over, listening. It's like no, I just listen to these excuses, right? Can anybody relate to this? Excuses, excuses. And it's like, we're sorry. We're sorry. And I'm like, okay, okay. But you know what? I sit here from the other side of this equation. I'm like, does anybody ever stop to think actually about Daniel? Like, they say, we're sorry. No care for him today. You deal with it. Like, they don't have the care. So that's where their accountability stops. I get that, right? But on the bigger spectrum, right, in this whole society thing, like how is this affecting him? How is this affecting me? Like we are just dropped off the planet, like nobody cares, and suddenly my life is Julie Hasselberger, the once aspiring corporate HR professional, like who is flattened because of this situation. I'm just left with all the care sitting on my shoulders again, and there's no follow up to is all of his hours being met or how is he do there's just like nothing. you know I just don't understand why they can tell you that you should have something, but then they don't have accountability for, is this actually happening, and if it is not happening, then what can we do to make it better so that the Julie Hasselbergers of the world don't disappear, right? And so that the Daniel Hasselbergers of the world can continue to have safe, accessible care in the home, which is ultimately so much less expensive than it would be if the state was responsible for putting him in a facility full time. I'm just saying, right? I just look at the equation from my side of it. This young man has all these benefits. They send all these approval notices. They don't ever send you something that says, "Oh, we're sorry, but we might not be able to help you out." No, they don't even say that. They just say, "You're approved for this. We're working on it." But I have no idea if the agencies are actually doing what they're saying they're doing. They say they're recruiting, they're trying to hire. I don't know. I don't know what their recruiting budget is and where their focus is. It makes me very reticent to change nursing agencies because I don't know if it's going to be different anywhere else. And I have a couple of nurses who are spectacular, right? The ones that I do have. I don't want to lose the little bit that I have already. It's like, I don't know what to do. So it just makes me come to this conclusion that in reality, the state doesn't really seem to care if Daniel gets care or not. That's my responsibility, right? So the least paid, least managed, and last on the list is what, he's the last one on the list, I mean, in terms of what their concerns are, because home care nurses, like they get paid like the least amount for adult home care than any other type of nurse. So why would they go to work there? Like when they can make so much money in a nursing home or wherever. So, I mean, God forbid he should start needing overnight care again. Like I would never sleep. I would not be as healthy as I am today because thankfully he's been able to do pretty well. Not as bad as he did when he was younger, but it leaves the caregiver in a lurch. People, we're in a lurch. Remember me? Remember me over here? I'm in a lurch. Okay. I have not been able to go to work for 15 years? Longer, something in that range. Nursing was supposed to help me by freeing me up so that I could be a human member of society again and give back and work and support my family and give money and pay taxes and put money in Social Security and be a supportive partner to my husband and just have, even if it was part-time, just a little bit of life so that I'm not trapped in this situation, right? But when the nurses call out sick, quit, whatever they do, right? They have their own lives. I understand that. But I have to upend anything that I had planned for my days. They never have replacement nurses. They never have like, oh, so and so's going to come in instead. That has never happened for me. Um, I I can't depend on anybody. And yeah, that's what's really really hard. So I'm I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a long time, trying to see if I can get care so that I could then go there. And in the beginning, I tried to find a job, and I'm like, well, maybe I can get help to take care of them during the day. And then as the years went by, I started saying, well, I'm just going to go to work part time, and that even didn't work. I mean, it just became futile, and I couldn't keep getting, you know, shut down, shut down, shut down, shut down. It's just really difficult to mentally manage that on top of everything else that I was doing. So I'm at the mercy now of one state agency. I can only use one state agency to manage all of his care through his Medicaid insurance. That's the rule. That's what they tell you. So if Daniel needs any therapy services or any nursing care services, and he doesn't get home health aid services because he's very medically complex. So I never even had that as an option because I would have to still be here to do all the medical end of things because let's see, I won't go through all of his stuff, but he has so many, medically complex issues and things that have to be done every day. So yeah, I'm at the mercy of one state agency. And so far, there has not been one that has been able to provide all of the care. I don't know anybody whose agencies have been able to provide all of the required care. Everybody's juggling this thing. So it just makes me want to say, well, it's really bad. So why aren't they looking at it? Like what am I missing? I've got to be missing something, right? Guys, am I going crazy? I feel like I just wish somebody would explain things to me. Anyway, so it's very mentally taxing and exhausting to feel like nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about you, me, your family, your need to work. Sorry, I get your children's needs. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? I'm so emotional. I'm sorry. They don't. And then it's just so hard. So Daniel's in our home with us. And, he's never going to go to a facility or somewhere right now. He lives here with me as long as I possibly can because, he's my world. Um, I'm supposed to have care for him through Medicaid, social services, developmental services, but I have sparse care. And on some days I have no care. So when I do have nursing care like today, sometimes there's holes in the schedule that cause constant disruption, right? Somebody has to leave, someone has life stuff, and that's fine. But there's no like what's the right word? There's nothing built into the system to help with that situation. It's just assumed that I have to drop everything to be the one. So I spend all of my time being Daniel's caregiver, being a homemaker, being the financial person, running around, taking care of everything, managing equipment, managing doctors, driving to hospitals, driving back and forth, going to the pharmacy, ordering medications. Um, and I don't earn any money for doing all of this. And I set up his vocational stuff and I do all of that. And I don't earn a penny. And at this point in my life, it's just becoming a little bit dehumanizing. So I'm trying to manage in an impossible juggle at times, and it's quite frustrating. Can you understand where I'm coming from? It's like, well, I do it all, And I'm trying to get help because I want to do other things. And it's beautiful how I've evolved in terms of my own, goals and dreams and things. I want to be able to give back. I feel like I have a greater purpose. I love my son, but I can't. I can't do everything. And can you see what that would do to somebody like me? This isn't just a year, 2 years, 3 years. This is the lifetime. My son's turning 25, and it's only through my digging and clawing back out of dark times, digging and clawing back to my sense of identity and my desire to do more and my desire to be myself, that I look at my situation with such a puzzled and perplexing kind of hypothesis. Like, do they really in society want to just ignore the severely disabled and their parents and their caregivers and their needs? I mean, there's things available, but if you don't ask for them, they don't give them to you. Everybody says that. Oh, well, they have benefits that if you need technology, like you want to get your person a computer, oh, you got to ask for it. But they were not going to tell you to apply for a grant. But if you apply for a grant and they have money, they'll give it to you. It's like, how am I supposed to know that? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So if no agencies can provide the adequate help, is it just expected that the people in my shoes have to sacrifice everything? And now I know people who are or currently or have been in the past in my shoes and have not been able to do that. And they've had to put their person into a group home because they just couldn't do it all. And to me, that's really sad because one person I'm thinking of didn't want to do that, but her situation was even more challenging than mine. So she had to go to work. She had no choice. And he passed away a couple of years ago because while he was in the group home, he got sick. Not that that's the reason. I don't know. But anyways, what about my desire, world, to help others, to write books, to podcast, to create, to share, to earn money and build security for myself so that I can better take care of my family, so that I can keep things going and give back even to society in a greater role other than just exhausting myself into sickness. I'm in a constant tidal surge of pressure, pressure. Oh, Mail's here. Pressure, pressure, pressure. So if the nurse calls out sick, agency makes a call to me, and that's it. They're done. Oh, sorry, we don't have anyone. Well, we called all the other nurses, but they're all working anyways, right? So they don't have any backup plans. They don't have standby people. Their job's done, so that's just the way it is. And there you go. Black hole. Not for me. I have to then say, okay, I love you, honey. I'm here for you. I'm gonna have to take care of you all day. Get you in the shower, change your diapers, take your meds, take you out, reposition you back and forth. Like I gotta just give up everything and focus on you. And that's what I do. And it creates inconsistency in all of the areas in my life. And it's not a problem for me to care for Daniel. My point is, it's a problem for me to care for myself. I have to cancel and reschedule anything that I had on my calendar. So my life implodes. And, I just feel like I have to adapt and then flush what I adapted to away and then adapt again and then flush what I had to do away. Change, shuffle. It's constant, constant, constant care and interventions in my house. And so much of it is just resting on my shoulders. So I wonder what I'm missing in this whole equation. What am I seeing? What am I not seeing? What am I not doing right? Like what? I don't know. I'm human. I'm not perfect. I often wonder. So they're so quick to tell you oh yeah, oh, our program covers nursing care, blah blah blah, but yet it literally never fills what they say that they're going to give you. Literally, in my case anyway, never. So I wonder if there is such a nursing shortage for home care, then what are they actually doing to brainstorm solutions that might make it better for people to get care in their homes who are severely disabled? Like, what about that? What about me? What about me? Don't I matter? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a professional caregiver. I'm not a nurse or a home health aide. I just happen to be the mother. But it's expected, since I'm the mother and, we're the guardians, that we have to give up all of my ability to earn money and support my family. Is that what they think? Because it's really not fair. I mean, I'm an MBA professional and I haven't been able to work because of the situation. So what about me, state of Connecticut? Like, don't I matter? Like, I mean, you could pay me a salary for being a hypervigilant caregiver 24 hours a day trying to survive, but I get nothing. I get zero. I have nothing. I have no money, like, of my own, zero. As a matter of fact, I have no way of, yeah, it's really frustrating. So my husband works full time. He's a darling. He is very hardworking, and I do have a couple of degrees, and I was very excited about my career when I was in it, and it was escalating, and it was doing really well, and I was a very, very well paid member of society. And now I'm just in my house, not knowing on any given day what will actually happen today and what my day will look like. So I get up and I try to plan a little bit, and today's a good day. I know I have a nurse until 4 because she's terrific. But at 4 o'clock, then I have to change jobs. So I don't have the ability. So I'm trying to squeeze things in, right? I was up at 6 o'clock trying to get my meditation done and trying to do my stretches so that I had more time to finish, writing out my outlines and think about what I wanted to talk about. But then I got distracted because, I don't know, the dog did something. And then this happened, that, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm losing my mind here. So for the purpose of this episode, I just am not going to get into the ramifications on my mental health and physical health, and the physical health and the overall psychological health of caregivers like me who I mean, this is my son. I mean, it could be your mother, it could be your son, it could be your daughter, it could be somebody in your family, your husband, you know what I mean? It's a lot when you have to, like, figure it out after never having had any experience doing this kind of thing. So it's a lot in the long term, but it also feels like nobody cares about you, because after a while they just take for granted. Oh, you're there, you're taking care of it. Oh, you're there, you're doing it. Even in your own family, although they love you and they know you're there doing it, after a while, it's kind of like my fibromyalgia. I have a chronic pain issue, but everybody forgets that. It's like I'm in pain every day, but nobody else seems to remember that. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's just there. So in my own journeying and questing, in my long-term vision planning that I've done and recently over the past couple of years, like really getting better and better at it, I've been, setting goals and intentions, and my manifestation goals show me having a clear vision of getting to a point where I can pay for outside care for Daniel myself, so that I can pay above the, pitiful Medicaid rate, and hire someone to provide the loving care that my son deserves and needs, so that I can let go a little bit and be able to work a whole day on the podcast or whatever, all of the things that I have goals and visions for doing in terms of my own vocation. So for the time being, though, special needs and disabled people who do need care, the family and friends who are there to help manage that, we're all just lost and forgotten, it seems, in terms of whoever's making these decisions financially to set the rates for the people that are supposed to take care of the neediest members of our society. So, I mean, why are home care nurses and aides through state insurance paid such an unrealistically low rate? Why? I don't know why. I'm sure there's a reason, but it doesn't help me. So I'm sorry, Mrs. Hasselberger. There is just a nursing shortage. There is nobody available today. There are no nurses in your service area. We're trying. We're really trying. Oh no, you can't use another agency. No, you can't do that. It's not allowed. It's not. No, you can't hire them yourself. No, can't do that. So this is my puzzle, and my life has been spent adapting to my son's massive disabilities and his daily needs. And now I have to also adapt to how to live my own independent life and be my own human being and have meaning and purpose beyond just being a caregiver and a mother to my son. And I love him so much. He is the light of my life, but there is more to me. And why doesn't anybody see that out there? Why? I mean, some people do. I do. I mean, ultimately, what matters is that I do, right? And that's going to reflect back. There's my ripple effect, right? But it's just really, really frustrating. So why? They just seem to assume, like, I guess, that people like me are just cool with it, and they just don't provide enough care. And it's gotten even more challenging, I think, since he's been home after he turned 21. I mean, when he was in school during the day, regular, in his programs, that was a little different. But now he's here. He's an adult, and he's more medically fragile than ever. So it's gotten harder because it's all day long. At least when he was in school, I would have the school hours to breathe a little bit. And unfortunately, back then, I was not unfortunately. It did give me more time then to focus on the other parts of my family. The other humans that I brought into the world also needed me. So it feels unfair, and it is unfair, and it feels futile. And yet I still keep trying. I still keep trying to upload to my channel. I still keep trying to learn how to do this podcasting thing, and I write articles, and I publish, and I sell little pieces of art on Daniel's shop website, because I never give up, and I'm never going to give up. I think, it kind of goes against the grain of my whole inner higher self. So I am trying to figure it out. If I could have worked all these years, I would have worked. But the pressure I feel on my husband is way too much, way too much. That's another whole story. But, he's the one supporting everything financially. And so we're both dealing with a lot of pressure. And I've always wanted to alleviate that. And, I haven't been able to. And I'm just trying to find a way to do that. And if the state and the politicians would at least show some concern for the people left behind, like me. Remember me? When the nurses don't show up from the agency that you tell me I have to stay with one of your agencies, I don't know. But boy, would it be nice to know that I matter to someone. So that's the whole point of this podcast, was like, for all that I've done to provide medical care and care for him all of these years, I've taken care of him in my house. He's very complicated. I've worked and worked and worked and worked and kept him healthy, and he's alive and happy and healthy-ish. And it's my devotion and my love to my child. I mean, I didn't have to do that. I could have been a monster and just barely got by. But of course I didn't do that. I love him too much. And does that matter? I mean, it matters. It matters to him, it matters to me. But I'm broke. I mean, we're not broke, our cumulative situation, but I'm a little broken. So in our communities all around us, though, there are homes where somebody like me is struggling, and we have to just let go of our desire and our need to work when we can't get there. And so we need to provide care. Somebody has to do it, right? You got this person, you love them, and of course you're going to care for them. So It's often a disabled or a medically complex child, but sometimes it's an elderly parent, or maybe you have someone who has lost their independence for some reason, or your spouse or your partner has become ill, or somebody has dementia or things like that. So for me, it was when Daniel was about 5 years old when my intense caregiving started. I mean, his medical needs increase significantly, and also my employer at the time decided in a very, very unfair and could have been easily litigated situation of discrimination and harassment and unfair labor practices let me go from my career at the time. It was early 2000s. I worked for a very patriarchal company, and they didn't seem to like a woman who was requesting flexibility to take care of a disabled son whose medical bills were uh, throwing a wrench in the self-insured world of paying medical claims, but whatever. It was traumatic, disturbing, and awful. And yeah, there's not a day that I don't still think about it and feel a little upset. But anyway, I'm not going to go into it anymore because shortly after that happened, Daniel needed surgery, double hip osteotomy surgery, hamstring lengthening. It was the first experience with a major surgery where I found myself in the hospital with him. And that's when I really realized, he needs me there. Therapies and all these other things. It was and is my responsibility to manage all of this, to be the encyclopedia of Daniel, and to accumulate and be in charge of the information from a holistic standpoint for this young man who would never be able to do it for himself. So I never returned to my career after this. Um, I remained here and committed to keeping him here. I remained vigilant and trying to find help. It has been over 15 years now, I said, and I'm still committed to caring for him every day in my house here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have to do it all. And most of the time, I'm here with Daniel doing our thing. I got my animals around me, and we're working here, and we're painting, and we're doing things. We're taking walks, and we're using his computers and his iPad. And I'm very isolated from people, but I'm also isolated from being able to earn any money. Um, and am simply just expected, I guess, to just buckle up and go for the ride, and I don't matter. So I'm trying now to put a positive spin on things. So as I have discussed, I am working on myself, and I am also my own caregiver for my own mental, and I've got some physical problems now that have been very difficult for me to also manage. So, you know, I think when I say, don't I matter? I mean, I think when I realize that I do matter to myself and to God, that's when I really realized, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to use self deprecating words about myself anymore. I matter, and I have so much to give and to share and to do. So it's just a very big, there's a very, I don't know how to rightfully or in the right way to describe this. Um, just always being on call, always needing to be flexible at a second's notice, never having normal independence. That's a hard way to live, and I think I've done a pretty good job so far because, like, look what I'm doing right now, right? So here I am, and if there's other people out there, so I'm so empathetic because I know there's so many people out there just trying to figure this out as well. And how do I do it? I don't know. I want to find a way to give back. I share the journey, what I'm learning, what I've learned, what I don't know, what I do know, how human I am, like my journey as a woman and as a mother. I want to share and laugh and give life and give love and just be a resource and be a light, because I feel like there's a light shining for me, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm looking at a system on the other side that's just like, it just seems so ugly to me. Like, why don't you want to shine a light on Daniel? Like, why don't you're supposed to be helping him, right? Anyways, I'm currently today. So, what I'm working on now, and I said I was going to talk about this a little bit in my figuring it out of things. So, when I got Daniel care through, the nursing care is what it is. They don't have enough, so that's a big hole. But the program that he has through the Department of Developmental Services, and there's also another program I discovered where from a friend where you can get paid to be a caregiver. It's called Community First Choice through the Agency on Aging, and or the Developmental Disabilities Department, who provides the vocational training, vocational day workers they call them, or individualized day. Basically, caregivers or home caregivers. The vocational day program is really in lieu of me sending him to like a Ability Beyond Disability for like a day program, like an adult daycare. We did not do that with Daniel because it would require he not be able to take his nurses with him and transportate. And he's so medically fragile, and their program didn't really work with what his needs are. So I made a decision, like a lot of people do, to self-manage that program and hire our own people to come here, and it's companionship and like housekeeping activities. Whatever we put together as the best things for Daniel's day to include. So I was like, that's cool. I'll hire people, and then, they'll be here so that I can work from home. At least he'll have people coming in and that kind of thing. It hasn't worked out. So it's been, what, 2 years? And I have a very hard time finding people. I only have one young lady, and she works on the weekends for a few hours, and she cut her hours in half. So what I'm doing now is that I am petitioning the probate court system to resign as my son's guardian and put my husband on as his sole plenary guardian and put me as his standby. And if I do that, then I can possibly receive compensation as my son's caregiver, doing what I'm already doing every day. So the fact that I have to not, you cannot in this state be a guardian and also receive any compensation for caregiving for a person. You can't do those consecutively. So I'm going to have to relinquish being his guardian, which is a little bit hard for me because I don't know what that's going to mean down the road. A friend of mine told me that she also did this, but she had a medical proxy drawn up and notarized so that she could also be the medical proxy. So that's a good idea. So maybe, my biggest concern is really like when I'm going in and out of hospitals and things like that. And most of the time, people don't even question you on it when you're, in a situation like I am. But anyways, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out how now to give up my thought of having other people here working and just get paid for those hours myself, because I don't know what else to do. I don't have any income, and I need income to help me, you know, pull up the bootstrings, or whatever the right term is. My mind is tired today, but I need to bring some income in here to help my husband, and it would be nice, right? Just to pay some bills, and just to be able to make it all make sense and still take care of my entire family and my own health and everything else. So that's what I'm working on. And it's probably going to take me another month or two. So I don't know which state agency is going to work in our situation. Would it be the social services one or the Department of Developmental Services one? It's a very complicated, and these programs are not like spelled out anywhere. It's very, very ambiguous. So you have to have like intake meetings. You have to apply for things, and then they come and talk to you. And then and I feel like the different people I've talked to that are actually doing this, it's everybody's situation is very different. But the probate court person that I talked to said that they're seeing a lot of this, a lot of people having to give up their guardianship status so that they can at least get paid through the state to be caregivers because there just are no caregivers. So, and I guess in a sense, that would make me feel a little less stressed out when I have to spend the whole day taking care of Daniel. And maybe ultimately it will take me a step closer to someday being able to afford to hire my own full-time care for him. And I'll still keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm just going to shift and change and adapt and see what happens. So, we'll see what happens. And I update this kind of stuff on my YouTube channel a lot about what I'm doing on a daily basis as a caregiver. But let me tell you something, it is very hard to do this all the time. You get into autopilot, and for me, for somebody who just has goals, aspirations, and dreams beyond, I am trying, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to keep pushing into who I am, and I am full of abundant ideas, and I feel very blessed and very grateful. And it's just so true that the more I focus on abundance and positivity and just, being a person of impeccable words and just, like all of those things, just really digging into trusting my intuition and staying positive and ritualizing my joy and doing all of these things. All these positive things are changing my ability to reach beyond, right? So if I was really negative and stuck and I couldn't get myself out of that, like I wouldn't be thinking about making a podcast to help other people, would I? So I think it's all cool in the long run. And I talked a little bit more than what I thought I was going to talk about today. So I'm just looking at my clock running at me. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you were here for me today and that you listened to my very vulnerable talk about the challenges I face here inside my house for my beautiful son Daniel, who is just the best, and he deserves everything and then some. It's just, how do you do it? How do you stay strong and not let it beat you down when it really feels like they don't care? But maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know, but all I'm saying is there has to be a better way. There always has to be a better way. And I do matter, and you matter, and all the Daniels and all the people who need your help matter. So that being said, I feel so happy to be at the end of this 46 minutes. And I'm going to just send out like my biggest heartfelt feeling of compassion that I can to all my caregiving friends out there. And I'm here too. I've actually made several new friends already in the past 2 months. It's good. Reconnected with old ones. I've made some new ones. I'm meeting more people all the time. And I love to hear the stories of everybody's different caregiving scenarios. It fascinates me. You guys are truly, truly heroes in our society, in our country, and you're not forgotten, even though it does feel like you are, but you're not. So that's all. I'll see you next time. Thank you for coming to the Adapted Life, which is truly an adapted life. And we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.